Monday. Every day will be Friday, no.
Hey everybody.
Celebrate, oh. Like saying on your Friday, no. My baby, one day.
All right. Hello. Welcome back. This is Inzali with Inzali Takes Africa. I am so excited to see you all back here again today. All right. So, if you are a Black millennial woman and you are looking to live, work, or play on the African continent, then this is the channel for you. Because I've done it. I've been you. I've been sitting where you've been sitting, and I have literally changed my life. And so, if I can do it, little on me, I know you can do it too. So, I just want to get some housekeeping things off of the menu this morning or this afternoon or this evening, wherever you may be watching in the world, because I know I got people from all over. The first thing is that we're on a count up to 1,000 subscribers. We're a little less than about 200. I believe it is 200 or so more subscribes until I get to the 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you love me, you love this content, you want to know more, you want to hear more, help us to get to 1,000 subscribers. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And not only should you subscribe, but you also should hit the bell notification, because I'm going to be putting out a lot more content, and then you'll know by hitting the bell. Okay. So also, if you want to find me on Instagram, you can always do that at Inzali Takes Africa. So today we got a treat. So as you know, I talk about all things Africa, all things travel, all things Black girl magic. And I realized that I've only hinted at my experiences in Nigeria. So today I'm actually going to do, I'm going to compare Lagos versus Johannesburg, Josie. Okay, because I have spent quite an amount of time in both places. As you all know, I've lived in South Africa, or those who don't know, I've lived in South Africa. I currently live in Ghana, but I also have done some traveling into Nigeria for work and for play. So we're going to compare the two today. So I took some notes, and let's jump right up into it. All right, so first things first, when we're thinking about going to any place in the world, you need to know where you're going to lay your head. Okay, you need to know where are you going to sleep. So we're going to kick off this list talking about accommodations. So when I spent time in Johannesburg, I was really in like the city center. I was in what they call like the CBD, so the Central Business District. That's where I spent most of my time. However, I did bounce around to other accommodation spots within the city. So you have like Rosebank, you have Stanton. Those are kind of like suburbs. But where else? Newtown, Parktown. There's so many neighborhoods, or within the city. So I spent quite an amount of time just kind of looking around. However, when I was in Lagos, majority of my accommodation time was spent on the island. So there's like the mainland in Lagos, and then there's the island, that's Lagos. And so all of my Airbnbs, places where I stayed, hotels, all of those things were always on the island. So when I'm thinking about accommodation between both places, Lagos has some amazing Airbnbs. I actually will tag my partner's brother. His Airbnb is also in Lagos. So shameless plug. I will put his Airbnb link in the description. However, they have some amazing Airbnbs. And what makes them so amazing is like all the amenities, right? Like the lavish furniture, the swanky kitchens with all the gadgets and the fixtures and the generators, all of that good stuff. Like you really feel like you're living in high class luxury, but you're really on a budget. Okay, so Lagos has beautiful Airbnbs, some really nice hotels, but I prefer the Airbnb life in Lagos, just to be quite honest, because you get like personal style. Your pictures look like you really at somebody's house when you're staying in Lagos. In Johannesburg has beautiful hotels, baby, beautiful hotels. They also have a good Airbnb life. They also have a lot of cheap accommodation too for people who like backpacking and couch surfing and all of those kind of things, and hostels and all of that kind of stuff. But when we're talking about like the life, you know, the Instagram life, the one you want to take your pictures, you want to sit by the pool with your shades on and all of that. Honestly, my Niger people, don't kill me. I'm gonna have to go with Johannesburg, and this is why. The reason that I'm going with Johannesburg is because, to me, it appears that the accommodations that are really, really nice are like spread out, right? Like you have all these little neighborhoods that have their own different personalities, right? So like I can find a really nice accommodation in Rosebank, and I can find a really like unassuming nice accommodations in CBD. I also spent a lot of time in Yaleville, but wasn't a whole bunch of great accommodations there. If you know, you know. But yeah, like I feel like their accommodations are more spread out across the city and its suburban counterparts. Whereas when I was in Lagos, I felt like all the super, super nice accommodation were all like concentrated in one area. And that was like the island or Lekki phase one, that type of thing. So I'm gonna have to give the accommodations to Johannesburg just because of the variety of location and like types of accommodation. Okay, so let's look at the second thing. When it comes to the food, I know in my last video when I was comparing Ghana to South Africa, my South Africans were eating me up in the comments. They were saying, you don't know, you didn't go everywhere and say, how can you talk about the food? We have great food. And everybody believes that their food is the best. I 100% agree. But from my experience, my point of view, I did not have the best food in South Africa. Like I had a lot of meat, you know, a lot of brine was going on. I did have a lot of the traditional foods. I lived in an area where there was Shangani people. I also lived in an area where there was Sepedi people. So I had their traditional foods, right? Plenty of pap, plenty of chakalaka, acha, all those type of things, you know. But I don't know, like the food just didn't touch my heart. When I was in Lagos, however, the food was number one, plentiful. There was no time of night you couldn't get food. The street food. See, I'm also one of those people that judges the quality of the food of an area by the street food. Because if the street food is bumping, the gourmet food gonna be bumping, and everybody know the street food in Lagos is bumping. So I had all types of stuff. I had goat head. I had all these different like Yoruba soups that I hadn't had before. And you know Nigerians, like when Nigerians make a soup, it's like 4 different meats in there. There's fish, there's all these types of beef, there's goat, there's this, there's that. So like I felt like I always ate well while I was in Lagos, and I ate at a reasonable cost. Like I didn't have to spend a lot of money to eat really, really good in Lagos. And the variety and the spices and the flavors and all of that is just like, that's my type of flavor palette. Okay, so I'm not saying South Africans don't have good food. I'm just saying that my favorite flavor palette, what I like to eat, is more in alignment with West Africa. And for this, the sake of this video, that's going to be Lagos. So, cha-ching, Lagos for the win when it comes to the food. Okay, so right now I think we are 1-1. Like Johannesburg has 1 for accommodation, and Lagos has 1 when it comes to food. Okay, so now let's look at the cleanliness of each city. Now, both of them are city centers, so to be very honest, like both of them are like not the best when it comes to being clean cities. Okay, like if I had to think about cities across the world that I've been to and their cleanliness, Johannesburg nor Lagos are going to pop up on that list. Just being honest. However, if I'm comparing the two, I will say that number one, Lagos has so many people. Like as soon as you get off the plane, it's like people running around everywhere. There's no nook or cranny. You don't see people in Lagos. Like it's just I don't know how to describe that. It's just people everywhere, and they're everywhere all the time. So I think because of that, there's like, and then we have a lot of street vendors, street sellers, people selling food, taxis, all of those type of things going on. So I just feel like it accumulates so much trash, and there's like not a fast enough system at collecting trash. Now I did see like those big trucks that would come and collect rubbish, but it just wasn't frequent enough for the amount of people and the amount of trash accumulation. So I just feel like there was always so much like just little rubbish that was around places. Also, like the drainage system wasn't like really the best. So there was always like every now and then you just run up on like little puddles of like water here and there. And so for me, that just wasn't like that adds to it just not being clean. And then also when you think about Johannesburg, when I was in the CBD area, the area is kind of rough sometimes. And so what was kind of off-putting was like the amount of like people I saw that kind of like lived on the street. Like you can tell they lived on the street, or they were working girls or abusing different substances and stuff like that. There was trash, but I also felt like in Joburg, because there were like so many like neighborhoods that make up the city and its surrounding, that like it really just depends on what part of the city you were in as to how much trash you saw. As opposed to when I was in like Lagos, like it really didn't matter where you were in Lagos, you were going to see trash. In Johannesburg, it really just depends on the city, which part of the city you were in, how much trash you saw. So when it comes to cleanliness of the city, from my experiences, I'm going to have to go with Johannesburg being the cleaner city. And another reason, I didn't mention this before, like Joburg has the How train, and I came from DC when I first went to Africa, and DC has a metro system, which is like, the train, underground trains, just like the How train. And metro is dirty. It's not as dirty as like the subway in New York, but it can be dirty, right? And so me sitting on the How train, like I remember one of the conductor people that like go through the trains tapped me and told me like to take out my gum. I was like, what? And they were like, no gum, like chewing of gum on the How train. Like they were very serious about keeping that train clean. So anybody that's that serious about keeping their metro system clean, the city is a bit cleaner than some other places. So I'm gonna have to go with Johannesburg on the cleanliness. All right. Now the vibes. I'm feeling vibes on vibes. I'm taking dynamite. Hey, okay. So the vibes. I don't even know. Like, I just wish I could like teleport all my people and just like let's just do like a 24 hours in Lagos. Let's do a 24 hours in Joburg. And so we can just all my people can just get their life, right? Just get your life. Okay. I'm gonna start with Lagos first, then I'll go to Johannesburg, then I'll tell you which one I think has the best vibes. So Lagos is one of those cities similar to New York City where like it never sleeps. Um, you can find something to do at all times of the night. There's so many clubs, there's so many bars, there's so many lounges and like cultural things to do and museums and performances, street performances. You could be somewhere and something pop off and there's a performance. um, it's just always something to do. And so for me, I'm the type of person like I could be in the house at like 10:30 and I'll get inspired and be like, what, I think I want to go out. And I really would expect to have something to do. And so Lagos is one of those type of cities where like if you like to go out, you like to mingle, you like to be around people, you get your energy from interacting, then it's definitely a place that you can go and chill. You're gonna get fresh food. And people are like just vibing. The people are gonna look good, the food's gonna be great, the music is gonna be banging. So I feel like Lagos is definitely a vibe. I know one of the nights that I went out there, we went to like a rooftop area. Gosh, I wish I remembered the name of all of these places. Maybe I'll put them in the description box once I go back and like look at the names. But we started off at a rooftop spot, which had like live music. It was like they were like playing the Afro beats, but they had like a live drummer that was like accompanying the Afro beat. So it was like making it feel like you weren't just listening to a track, but like it was more interactive in that sense. They had like a little MC guy that was real cool. That place kind of like died down, and then we went to this club that was like in a hotel, and that one was super fun. It was like as the night kept going, it got more and more crowded. They had these lovely like you could buy this like platter of shots, which was super dope, and it was really cheap. And then after that, we went to it was another spot, but it was more like loungy. It was a little bit smaller, but the AC was kicking, so you could like dance your heart away and still not break a super big sweat. And then we went somewhere else after that. I'm trying to remember. But as you can see, the night just kept going and going and going. And that's Lego. It's the gift that keeps on giving, right? You're just gonna go and go and go and go and go. And so you can go have something on the water, you can have something not on the water, you could be going to a house party that someone's throwing. Like it's just so much to do, and it's just gonna be a super good time. So now I want to tell y'all just a quick little story about when I first went to Johannesburg. When I first went to Johannesburg, I had come down from Limpopo from my site that I was working at. And I had booked me and Mama Natural, shout out to her. We booked this like hotel. We had only seen it online. Needless to say, it was a horrible, horrible hotel. So we just like got on our phones and started like Googling other places. Now, I'm talking about Joburg, but I still have to shout out my Nigerians because we found this other place that was in Yaleville. Now, keep in mind, we had no idea what Yaleville was, is, or nothing like that. We had no idea. But we just were like, okay, called up this place. It was a Nigerian lady and her husband who owned the place. And she was like so concerned about our well-being. She literally drove and came and picked us up from the other place and took us back to her place. Gave us the best room. They went and bought us food. Her husband and his friends took us out on the town later that night. So we were like party hopping in Johannesburg. And we just had like an amazing time. That was night one. Night number two, it was like I want to say it was like I don't know if it was Bob Marley's birthday or if it was like Garvey Day or something. I don't know. It was something dealing with like Rastas and stuff. So we went out on the town and we just linked up with these like young folks. Like I can tell we were like going to this spot. The spot wasn't open. Linked up with them and they were like, come kick it with us. And they literally like took us all around the city to all these different like spots. We ended up at one of the spots that we ended up at was like this, like to me, it gives me like basement. Okay, I think I'm back. So we ended up at this like basement like feel Caribbean spot. And it was just dope. Like again, it was one of those places where we didn't know anybody. We were driving around with these people, hanging out, having the time of our lives. I think day number 3, we were in what is it? Greenway. It was something with green in it. We went out hanging out there and it was like more of a chill hipster vibe. So it was like every night it was like a different vibe. Like first night we were kicking it in Johannesburg with some Nigerians. Second night we were kicking it with some young folks from the university who were like low-key Rastas. Third night we were the hipster vibe. And so it was just like energy. That's that energy. Energy. It was so dope. And so I'm going to say, if I had to measure the vibes, honestly, I really cannot pick. Like, I feel like I had the time of my life in Lagos. I feel like I had the time of my life in Johannesburg. And I cannot choose. Like they both were equally as great. So I'm gonna have to give it up to both of them. So if you're from abroad, you want to come to Africa, you want to have the time of your life and party, Lagos is a vibe. Joburg is a vibe. All right, so let's look at the transportation. So as I mentioned before, Joburg has How Train, Joburg has taxis, Uber, all of that kind of stuff. Lagos has public taxis, which are very crowded. I don't suggest getting on those. Motorbike people, I don't suggest doing motorbikes. It's not safe. And also Uber, all of that kind of stuff. But they don't have like a train system. So just to keep it short and simple, Joburg's transportation style was more my vibe, more what I'm used to coming from the States. So Joburg wins for transportation. Also, the reason Joburg wins is because they don't have as much traffic as Lagos. Anybody who has ever been to Lagos, you know, the traffic is something serious. Like you can sit for hours. So with that being said, sorry, my Niger people. I cannot give it to you. I cannot. Okay. All right, let's look at the next topic. So the next topic is the people. So this is simple. Simple as it can be. I'm gonna say both. In both places, I was very well taken care of. You know, my guy is from Nigeria. So when I went to Nigeria, I definitely had people who were looking out for me. Even when I wasn't like with his friends and family, when I also went to Nigeria for a conference. I was a speaker. And even the people who were organizing that treated me super well, paid for my accommodations, made sure I got to where I needed to be. Like everybody was just super hospitable. So my experience traveling into Lagos, people were top tier, took care of me, made sure I had everything I needed. So can't complain. Also going into Johannesburg, like I told you in my quick little story time before, we met this random lady who was like looking out for us, these random students who were looking out for us. Everybody was just like super helpful. So I also know that both places can be unsafe, right? As with any major city. So you do want to like be careful as to who you kind of like trust and who you link up with and stuff like that. But for me, I'm still here. I survived. I survived. So the people, both places, thumbs up. And last but not least, I'm going to go with the currency. So my Lagosians, my Nigerians, this thing here where you flip the money and you're like, and it's like, why's the money? That was so hard for me to get a handle of. To wrap my mind around the currency in Nigeria was one of the hardest things that I experienced when I was there in Lagos. I also have been to Abuja, but this video is about Lagos. It was the hardest thing because it was like the price sounds so high. So they'll be like, oh, 14,000 naira. I'm like, 14,000? 14,000 is a lot, but it's really not. Or they were like 7,000 naira or 50,000 naira. And like all of those things sound like a lot to me because it's the thousand of something. So it's like, oh, I think I got a mosquito. Get out. Okay, y'all. Sorry. Y'all know I live in Ghana and mosquitoes, malaria, you don't want those problems. Okay, so yeah, it just seemed like I could never like wrap my mind around like how much I was actually spending when I was in Lagos because everything sounds like a high price to me. And then when you're counting out the money, because they don't have like large denomination bills, you're just there counting. And that was just a lot for me. It was a lot. In South Africa, the rand, it was simple. Like they have big, small denominations. Things are priced like, and the sound of it sounds reasonable to me. So it was easier for me to kind of wrap my head around that currency and easier for me to convert in my mind than it was with the Naira. So for that reason, I'm going to have to go with Johannesburg and the rand. Yeah. And also things like cost of living just in general, I felt was cheaper in South Africa than it was And Joburg, was in Lagos. So yes, y'all. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. This was my quick, um, quick but long version of Johannesburg versus not South Africa. Lagos versus Johannesburg. Which city do I recommend? As you can see, if we tally it up, I had Johannesburg for accommodation. I had Johannesburg for cleanliness, Joburg for transport and currency. So that was 4 out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, out of the 7. So that means Joburg does win this one. So shout out to SA. You won, you won, you won. All right, y'all. So don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Nzali Takes Africa. That way you get very personal insights to my day-to-day while I'm on the African continent in whatever country you'll find me in on that day. Also remember to like the video. Like the video so YouTube can tell other people that this is the channel to be at. Also, make sure you share the video. You can clip it, do whatever you like, and also subscribe because we are on a count up to 1,000 subscriptions. All right. So I love you all. Stay blessed, and remember, stay black. All right. Peace out, y'all. Shout out to South Africa for winning this round. And I love y'all, Nigeria. So don't worry. Maybe next time it'll be you. All right. Peace.